Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show here at Hush Social Club, getting ready for an evening of divine music and healing. And I get a chance today to speak to somebody who is part of that puzzle, a great multi-instrumentalist, Rafe Centouri. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Let me ask you a question. Was the pressure? Did you put pressure on yourself to get better and at music, or was it external? What I'm saying is, what was the nexus from turning music from, I don't want to say a chore, but from a challenge to still a challenge, but to more of a fun part of your existence?
You know, let me see. I never really took music seriously until I turned about 19. When I got into college, I kind of got overwhelmed with school and all that stuff, and I've never really been one to just go, do work, go work a 9 to 5, although I'm working a 9 to 5 now.
Good for you.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's temporary. But I don't know, I think I just kind of got a really good head start technically from my dad when I was young, and I was able to pick it up when I was 19. And sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so bad on camera.
No, you're great. No. First of all, but what was the defining moment for you, as it related from? Did you ever consider like quitting music because you were miserable? When did it become fun for Rafe Centouri?
It became fun when I met people in Tucson that genuinely felt it was
What was
fun
that?
to them.
Explain, maybe like I'll give an example of who you met.
Yeah, I met a lot of church musicians. That was kind of a big turning point, especially in the last couple of years for me. It was the difference between practicing jazz just to get my jazz chops up, just get the melodic lines, learn some Charlie Parker, I just want to play the changes type feel, to kind of just showing up to a gig and having somebody call out a song that I'd never even heard sometimes, and you just play what they're playing. If you're way off, you just listen really hard. That's kind of what I picked up, at least. And there's just such this element of fun and just bliss almost that comes with that I genuinely can say I don't think I've found that anywhere else in life thus far, I love that.
Did your dad, was he an ear-trained musician?
He didn't know anything theory-wise.
Explain what were some of the games that you guys would play growing up, like musical games?
Oh man, that's a great question. We used to drive around and he would do things like, it ranged from like tonal stuff to rhythm,
Sure.
etc. But he would be like, what kind of guitar are they playing? And I'd have to pick it out, like Strat. Sometimes it's like a PRS, and he'd have to explain to me like, there's different kinds of PRSs, like it's down to the pickups, it's stuff like that.
So nuanced.
Yeah, he kind of came at it from like a producer's mentality for the most part.
Was he a producer?
He was for a good portion of his life.
What can you talk a little bit about what that was like, at least even growing up? I mean, did you have experiences in the studio?
Absolutely, yeah. He pretty much built up a home studio that has everything. I couldn't ask for anything more recording wise. I almost feel like the production aspects of like mixing, just getting the right general sound of the entire band setting has come natural in a way, which I'm just so grateful for, because I've never had to put that much thought into it.
You're talking about in a production sense?
Yeah, in a production, but it applies to live band settings too.
How does it, explain how it applies to live band?
At least personally,
Yeah.
I feel like as the bass player, it's pretty fundamental, or it matters a lot how strong the bass is coming through in certain sections of a song, or just the vibe that you're trying to put off, if you know what I mean. And like especially bass, because it's just this one instrument that takes up this entire frequency spectrum on the low end, whereas keys and guitar kind of play in the same little area, I guess is a way of putting it. And so I feel like I have a lot of power in saying what the music is trying to say, I guess, just through how the dynamics that I use.
Is that like also miking, the way you mic the room?
Yes, I honestly wish that I had more experience in that regard.
The old school engineers used to mic the room and then put the cats in and address what was maybe enhance this here or there. Talking to guys at Chess Records and things like that, where now you kind of mic the band.
Right.
Sometimes it's better to mic the room first.
Interesting.
And that was an old school technique. But I also wonder about like, with your father, did he what would you like to tell him now about where you need to grow the most in your as a person or a player?
Oh man.
Not that he can't see, but
No.
you know, you're putting it out there.
You know, there's almost too much to pinpoint a single thing, to be completely honest. But
I mean, how about more like for me, it's always about completing tasks and discipline and follow through and focus.
Yeah.
These are all things that are habitual natures of mine that I'm not good at. Are there things like that you
Absolutely.
that you feel are, you know, I don't want to say a detriment, but that you still need to sort of, I mean, we're all still growing, but where do you need to grow the most?
Specifically looking at the way that my dad approached music and life and stuff, in the last 2 years since he died, I really wish that I could have some kind of conversation with him in terms of how he was so free with the way that he just created. Like, he was able to just pump out songs. He was able to go in the studio and he just heard things immediately. It was not that I don't hear things, but it's just more difficult for me than it was seeing him do it.
Well, no, I mean, that's deep. Let's be clear, though. He could hear songs in his head, but you hear grooves.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on, man. Like, it's just, you're not necessarily, like, your wheelhouse is not necessarily in the song bash.
Right.
But if you want to let him know, you want to be able to write more songs and have stuff come through you.
I want to start putting my own.
That probably will
Self
only
out.
come naturally.
Yeah.
You know, like, we can't force that.
Absolutely.
What about the, like, can you just talk about the most effective qualities of leadership on the bandstand in your mind?
Yeah. Communication has to be number one to me, and that's almost like.
But here's the thing. When you're playing music, there's no verbal word. There's no words. You can shout something. So, like, what kind of communication, what kind of nonverbal communication are you talking about?
I was just about to say, I don't think that communication necessarily has to be like yelling over the music
No.
and such. Like, I think Jamar is a perfect example of like my ideal band leader, if you want to call it that.
Why?
He, for me at least, if I'm doing something that doesn't really fit what he's hearing or he wants to move somewhere else, he'll play bass for a second, and he doesn't even need to do it in the bass register. Like, I can hear what
I
he's
love that.
feeling.
And it's so subtle that an audience would not even pick up on that.
It almost adds to the musicality.
Oh, dude,
in a
of
way.
course
It's like
it does.
A call and response.
It's a
type deal.
vocabulary
Yeah.
increasing, you know?
No, absolutely. And I love that. That's
But also the reason that's good leadership is because he's putting a chord on it and he's letting you express yourself, as opposed to leaving empty space and sort of having you hanging out there.
exactly.
Right?
Perfect.
So it's supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what you need. I can't play to my freest extent without that kind of support from the people that I'm playing with. That's what I've kind of found.
Does that pretty much happen on all your gigs, or do you find sometimes I mean, I know it comes through trust and stuff, but I also know you can show up and probably play with somebody that you probably haven't played with a lot or maybe in a long time, but if you have a good feel, then it's going to lock right back
No,
in.
absolutely. I've been personally trying to get better at kind of like taking that role of leadership once in a while if I feel like nobody's really like stepping up.
Oh,
in
I love
way.
that. That's what your dad needs to hear.
Yeah, I would love to have.
Talk about one thing that not the particulars, but like talk about a form of leadership you've used recently when you felt like an ebb and you needed to pick up the slack.
Let's see. Lately with Connie a lot, we're playing with a lot of new people because she loves to just play with anybody she can possibly play with, which is the main reason.
Yeah, she's a
that-
great manager,
Yeah.
great talent scout.
Yeah, she's open to all the sounds too. She won't ever make you play a certain way, which is the best. But that being
Right.
said, there can be moments where it gets almost too free, and that's a strong statement. Not that I have anything against free playing, but
but maybe people, there's a chance they would lose track of what the actual tune is.
yeah, and I think specifically in those moments recently, I've been trying to pull myself out of the entire flow state because I love reaching that kind of moment where you're not thinking about anything but the music. But there's a balance that you have to find, especially if you want to be in that position where you guide the music to a certain direction or to a destination. I think those are the moments, if I had to say one.
Before I let you go, I just want you to talk about a time in your life that you faced adversity, how you overcame it, and how it made you a stronger person.
I mean, we've already mentioned my dad's death, and that I have to
Was
say,
that a sudden thing?
It was and it wasn't. He
Yeah.
had pancreatic cancer, so we knew for about a year that it was gonna happen.
Did you have closure with him?
Yeah, I would say I did. I spent more time with him in that last year than I probably ever did, and I learned who he was as a person instead of as my dad, which was really big for me.
Do you believe that he respected you?
Absolutely. He was the biggest source of support in my life, 100%.
You carry on in his spirit tonight and beyond. Rafe Centouri, what an honor, man. Thanks for being part of the show.
Thank you so much.
It's the Jake Feinberg Show. See you later.